The rain hadn't stopped for hours. By 11:47 p.m., the streets of Raven Creek were almost empty. Streetlights flickered in the cold October wind, and thick fog rolled across the highway like a living thing. David Miller rubbed his tired eyes as he pulled his taxi to the side of the road. It had been a long shift. One more ride, he told himself. Then he would finally go home. Just as he reached for the ignition, his phone vibrated. New ride request. Pickup location, Blackwood Road. Bus stop. David frowned. Blackwood Road was on the edge of town, surrounded by dense forest. Almost nobody requested rides from there, especially this close to midnight. The fare was nearly 3 times higher than normal. After a moment of hesitation, he accepted. 15 minutes later, he arrived. The bus stop stood alone beside the road. No cars, no houses, no lights. Only rain. Then he saw her. A young woman stood beneath the broken shelter, wearing a long white coat. Her dark hair hung over her shoulders, soaked by the rain. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She simply opened the back door and got into the taxi. "Good evening," David said politely. No response. He glanced in the rearview mirror. She kept staring out the window. "Where are we going?" After several seconds, she finally answered. "Ash Hill Cemetery." David blinked. "The cemetery?" She slowly nodded. "I need to visit my father." Trying to make conversation, David smiled. "Does he work there?" The woman turned her head. For the first time, he saw her face. Her skin was unnaturally pale. Her eyes looked almost completely black. "No," she whispered. "He's buried there." The rest of the drive was silent. As they drove deeper into the forest, the temperature inside the taxi dropped. David turned the heater to its highest setting. Nothing changed. His breath became visible. A thin layer of frost slowly spread across the inside of the windshield. Something wasn't right. He checked the outside temperature. It read 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside the taxi, it felt below freezing. At exactly 12:18 a.m., they reached the cemetery gates. "We're here," David said. Silence. He looked into the rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. His heart skipped a beat. He slammed on the brakes and turned around. Nobody. The woman had disappeared. The rear door was still locked from the inside. No footprints surrounded the taxi. No sign that anyone had ever gotten out. Only one thing remained. A silver locket lay on the back seat. David picked it up. It felt ice cold. Inside was an old photograph of the same young woman, standing beside a man in a police uniform. On the back of the photo, someone had written in faded ink, "If you find this, don't let them bury the truth." Before David could understand what it meant, his phone chimed. Ride completed payment. Cash received. David stared at the screen. No cash had been handed to him. His hands began to shake. He started the engine and drove away from the cemetery as fast as he could. A few minutes later, the taxi radio switched on by itself. Static filled the speakers. Then an old news broadcast began playing. Tonight marks the 10th anniversary of the disappearance of 22-year-old Emily Carter. David's grip tightened around the steering wheel. Police believe Emily entered a taxi on Blackwood Road shortly before midnight. His heartbeat quickened, but she never arrived at her destination. The voice suddenly cut off. The radio went silent. David looked into the rearview mirror. Emily was sitting in the back seat again. This time, she wasn't looking out the window. She was staring directly at him. Tears rolled down her pale face. Her lips moved slowly. "They didn't kill me there." Before David could react, every light inside the taxi went out. The dashboard died. The engine stopped. The vehicle rolled to a halt in the middle of the empty road. Only the GPS screen remained glowing. A new destination appeared automatically. Destination. Where my body was hidden, David had never entered an address. He never touched the screen, yet the map began guiding him, deeper into the forest, and somewhere beyond the trees. Something was waiting. David stared at the glowing GPS screen. Destination. Where my body was hidden. His fingers trembled as he reached toward the display. He hadn't entered an address. He hadn't touched the navigation, yet the route had already begun. A blue line stretched deeper into Blackwood Forest. His instincts screamed at him to turn around. Instead, he followed it. The road grew narrower with every mile. The streetlights disappeared. Towering pine trees surrounded the taxi, blocking almost all of the moonlight. Rain hammered against the windshield. Then, the GPS voice spoke again. Continue for 2 miles. But something was wrong. The voice wasn't robotic anymore. It sounded exactly like Emily. David's grip tightened around the steering wheel. "Who are you?" he whispered. Only silence answered.